Internship is not, I think it's not about learning a subject, because they're not going to teach you anything, and you don't have the experience to use all the, like electronics components. But I think the best part that I learned was networking with people and how to connect to people and how to, engage with them. And
Hello and namaste. I'm your host Neeraj from Sydney, and you are listening to one and only podcast from Sydney where you can learn and listen to the experience of international student living in Sydney. One of the purpose of this podcast is to share the experience and the journey of international students who are living in Sydney, so that it will be helpful for the future international student who are planning to come to Sydney. And as you know, as we come to Sydney, we have to go through different kind of struggles, challenges in our life. And if we don't get the right information from the right persons, then it's really gonna be tough. So I'm here in this episode to share the right information from the right persons about the experience of international student living in Sydney. And today's guest is someone whom I genuinely believe has more experience and knowledge about living in Sydney. Let me introduce who he is. He completed his Electronic and Communication Engineering from Nepal Engineering College, Bhaktapur. Recently, he completed his Master in Master of Management for Engineers from CQUniversity, Sydney, and currently he is working in National Australia Bank as an analyst. So he's none other than my very dear friend Raunak Koirala. Welcome to Sydney Reflect, Raunak.
thank you, Neeraj. Thank you for having me in this show.
So how's life going on in Sydney?
To be honest, it's going very well. I'm getting used to the culture, used to the tradition, used to the lifestyle here. So yeah, it's going great.
So I want to start this episode with the questions regarding your experience of studying in Australian university. So tell me about your experience in your university.
So to begin with, so if I have to, I don't want to compare with our universities back home, our colleges back home with universities here, because they have more funding, they have more resources and everything. But the experience was more about the horizon that you can learn from. So in Nepal, there was a certain course that you have to do. There was certain, certain syllabus that you had to do, and then you do it from the syllabus. You don't go anywhere outside of the syllabus.
Yeah.
But here, different universities have different way of teaching students. So if you just go to one class and then you go to another class from another subject, these two subjects will vary from each other, because this is going to be different and this is going to be different. The professors, they teach in their own style, and they're open to all the different ideas. And some people, some professors, they want to teach in a big hall, some they want to teach in a small place. Yeah. So it's they don't put us in a position where we decide, okay, this much is okay. Otherwise, if you go beyond that, it'll be, you can't do this. So there's no can't. You'll just go free and wild, and whatever they teach you. And for example, even the assignments, like some of the assignments would be, for example, a class assignment, and then they'll give you a sheet, and then you'll start working on the sheet, like how we used to do in design thinking. Yeah, right. So they just want us to be very creative, and they don't want to limit us to certain syllabus. They just want to make us go wild and be creative and learn more from what they are trying to teach.
So it was a kind of productive for you.
Yes, it was a great experience and especially for international students. It's like something new, learning something new, and for me as well, it was very productive, and I could think beyond my imagination. If for example, design thinking, they wanted us to present in a different way. So I had never presented that back home or wherever I would have been. But here, like in design thinking, we were asked to present in different ways. We were asked to, do some drama and some act to show them what we're trying to say. So that's pretty new, yeah, and that was very productive.
So did you have any expectations here before coming Sydney regarding your study in Australian?
Yes, I did. I was expecting, for example, I started with University of Wollongong, right? So I studied there with you. I met you there. So in University of Wollongong, we had this huge university place, right? So the area was big and students were roaming around, some studying, some feeding the ducks, some having a concert in the garden, right? So it's like I was expecting something like that, right? But then I switched to Central Queensland University. Of course, it's a different campus, but I was hoping there would be something like University of Wollongong. But yeah, I think it matched. University of Wollongong would have matched what I expected of universities in here in Australia.
So what is the best part of studying in your university?
I think the best part is like the experiences that you get and the friends that you make. Yeah, those are the best parts because learning is a process and you learn for all your life, right? So the best part would be, you get a lot of experiences. The professors are funny as well. They like to joke when they are teaching us. They like to joke, and then we're like laughing, and then like 5 seconds later they're serious about, okay, you have to finish this as a course, right? So it was like a different experience, and that's what I think is the best that I had here.
So as we know that we both paid a huge amount of money for the university.
Yeah.
So I want to know from your perspective, regarding what you think that whether studying in Australian university by paying such a huge amount is really worth it?
So it all depends on your mindset, right? So if you think money is a big deal, if you think, for example, if you take money as a big deal, and for example, not just one example, there's like few other examples as well. So if money is a big deal, and if you wanna spend a lot of money, you have money, or you're financially stable, then I think studying in Australia is good. But if you think your financial status is not that good, but still you want to have the learning experiences, of course you'll have more struggle than the people who are financially stable, right? But if you want to learn that, and if you're ready to take all the struggles with yourself, I think yes, it is worth it paying that much amount of money, and then trying to learn, trying to gain as much as possible from the universities here. So yeah, it's all about, are you ready to, so some people start at second position, for example, some people start at this position, right? And then some will be way back. So it's all about where you start, right? So if your father, if your parents are very rich, you start at this point, but other has to reach that point, right? So it's all about the mindset. So even if you're not financially stable, if you're ready to work, and then you're ready to learn, you're ready to study, and you're ready to experience all the university life here, I think no one is going to stop you.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Thank you.
So how about, do you think, is there anything your university need to focus on in coming days?
So if I'm talking about Central Queensland University, they're doing a great job. They're engaging students with student club and innovation club and all those sorts of activities. But I feel like, I know it's like in Sydney campus there's a limited space, limited area. There's no basketball court, or at least in Nepal all the small colleges also had basketball court at least, and then a canteen beside. So I think it's the infrastructure needs to be better. And so I've seen some of the universities here, like I don't want to name them, of course. They're in a building, and then there's 2 floors of the college, of the university, and then the third floor is a different apartment. Someone is living there. So there's this story, right? So my friend came from Nepal, so he joined this university. I'm not going XYZ university, and then he was expecting, okay, Australian university, it's gonna be huge, and then he came to Australia, and then second day he went to the university, and he was like, okay, this looks good. So there was a big board, XYZ University, and he was like, this building looks good. And then he goes in, and then there was this sign saying, second and third floor XYZ University, don't go beyond that. And he was like, what the hell? It's just like, second and third floor is the university, and fourth floor is someone living there. And he just wanted to try, so he went to fourth floor, and then he saw an apartment, a person was living there, and he came back to his university, and he was like, I shouldn't have paid so much money on that. Yeah, so universities need to develop in terms of infrastructure, and at least meet, like, you're paying so much of money, and at least meet the expectation of the students.
So let's talk about your early days in Sydney.
Yeah.
So how challenging was for you to arrange your accommodations and finding a part-time jobs and getting used to the Sydney life?
To be honest, I have my family here. Half of my family is here, so it was not too hard for me to get an accommodation because I was living with my uncle and my aunt, and they are very lovely people. So accommodation for me was not too hard, but to get a job in Sydney is challenging because they want someone who is bubbly, who wants to, who's outgoing and who has a great personality. Most of the people want that, and because we don't have experience in casual jobs, and in Nepal we don't do casual jobs, right? So it's a society thing. So I'm not gonna comment on that, but it was like that back in Nepal, but here it's different. Work, everybody respects their job, and for us to start at first is very hard, but once we get used to it, it's easy. So for example, if the first time you get into a job, for me it was very hard because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know the general stuffs, like, and there were so many things to learn, and I was very confused. So it was very hard, and after I got it, I was more confident about, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that. So I was more confident, and then later it was easier to find jobs.
So what was the most challenging part of your student life?
So the most challenging part of my student life would be managing time. Yeah, because as a student, you have to pay your accommodation, you have to pay your bills, you have to pay for your food, you have to pay for your uni, and then you have to study, of course. You're here to study, right? But first you have to study and then do all the other things later. But yeah, that's how, like, you have to manage time in such a way that you can do all the stuffs and then still have a great life. At least go to a beach once a month. So you have to manage time. It's all about time management, and how much focus are you how much focused you are right now. Because if you come in as a new student now, right, so you wanna find an accommodation, you wanna find a job, a part-time job, and then you have to follow up with all the syllabus, and they give you syllabus at the very beginning of the semester. They don't give you in the middle of semester. They provide you with all the details, and you have everything you need. So if you start managing, week 1 I'll do this, week 2 I'll do this, week 3 I'll do this, and then in week 1 I'll work these days. So if you start managing the time, it becomes easier. But yeah, I was not good at that. I was not good at that, and it was hard for me.
Do you have any kind of bad experience in Sydney? It can be in terms of studying or in terms of working somewhere, or
bad experience. I don't think any experience would be bad, because experience is something you take positively or negatively. If you take that same experience as a negative experience, for example, if you go to Brisbane and then you spend a whole lot of money or you lost some money, that means you had a bad experience, right? But if you take it as, you know, a life learning lesson, as in you have to keep your money safe and then next time you don't do it, so that would be a positive lesson. So I think positivity is what drives you to experience what you're experiencing. So there was no such bad experience. It was just sometimes, of course, as a student, you have to manage time and you're stressed with all those things, and you're stressed with, you have to go to work and you're tired and you don't want to cook. So small things were stressful. So I think challenging or bad experiences, not bad experience, but learning experiences would be from those moments, you know, like sometimes you feel depressed and then you don't want to do anything, but then you have to go to work. There's no option, right? So if you don't go to work, you won't get a shift next day. So yeah, it was challenging, but I wouldn't say it as a bad experience.
Tell me about what you think is the best part of being an international student in Sydney.
I think the best part of being international student is that they value international student very much, and you have so many opportunities that you can do anything you want. I mean, in universities there were so many clubs, so many activities happening every week. There were so many activities. So if you want to engage and if you want to do something out of your free time instead of sleeping or watching TV, right? You'll have so many things to do. And international students, I think they have that privilege, and to be able to learn from a different culture, so your mindset would be broadened, because you'll be learning from a different culture and people from different perspectives. So they have their different type of thinking, and then you have your different type of thinking when you came here. So I think that's the advantage of being an international student. You can basically, and other students will be international students as well, and the domestic students will be very engaging as well. So it's like you have so much of opportunities to network with people and get a good experience from what they have experienced before. And I think that's the best part of being international student.
You have already graduated from CQUniversity. So is there anything that you wish you could have done something during your life?
There's a lot of things that I should have done. Well, I used to be a very engaging student. I used to be very active with volunteering stuff and students club and everything back home. And I used to even run a students club. So I was very active back then. But when I came here, I had a different kind of stress. And I focused entirely in a different thing instead of focusing on all the activities that happen in the university. So I didn't involve myself in clubs or social innovation, entrepreneurship programs and stuff. So I think that's what I regret not doing. But then when I think about it, when I was 2 years back, when I was in that position, I was thinking of something else rather than engaging myself in a club or a workshop or a training program. So I think now thinking about it, I regret not having at least one workshop or one training program which I registered, but I didn't go. So I should have at least gone to one of the trainings or or participated in one of the club. I did participate in the basketball club, but I never went for the games. Yeah, so that's I think that's what I don't regret, but I don't want to do it. If I had to go back, I would definitely go in one of them.
So when was the last time you had a conversation with your friends back in Nepal?
Oh, I had a conversation with my friend yesterday. Yeah.
So I mean, usually when my friends call me, when I have a conversation with my friends, usually they ask me a question regarding how is Sydney. I'm trying to come Sydney, and they are asking about PR and about what I'm interested. So what about your friends? They do ask the same question like this, or they are different?
I don't have any friend who wants to come to Sydney. Whoever says he or she wants to come to Sydney, I said don't come to Sydney. go to America. It's the best. America is number one. No, but just kidding. When I talk to them, they ask me about how's the life there, and what are you doing. How do you find it? Do you want to come back? So these are all the sorts of questions they ask, and I say, it's okay, and I've adapted to the environment. So wherever you go, you have to adapt to the environment. Otherwise, you have to go back, right? Yeah. So there's just one or two options: you stay here or adapt, or you go back. Yeah. Because you'll be stressed otherwise. Yeah. If you want to stay here and you don't adapt, you'll be stressed, right? So you have to either adapt or go back. So what I tell them is I'm adapting, I'm learning from people, and I'm learning from my job, my meeting new people, I'm learning from my family. So what I tell that my life here is all right. I'm learning, and I think it's good in a way that I'm setting up my career in an international platform. So my experience is, if I wish to go back sometime future, I think it will be of great value, because I'll have exposure to international platform. And any other student who's been working here, they all will have exposure to international platform, and that is because it'll be helpful when you go back, because the amount of development, the amount of infrastructures and all the technology available, you can always bring back to your country, right? So yeah, I tell those kind of things, and I ask them if they wanna engage in some kind of business within Australia and Nepal, and they're like, yeah, we can do that, and we never have a chat after that. So yeah, I think that's what we talk about, and because my friends are in that age where they are trying to build up their career in Nepal, so they are trying to at least learn from me. So they ask a lot of questions saying, what do you do in bank there, and what the difference? So one of my friend works in bank, and I'm currently working in a bank in Australia, and he works in Nepalese bank, right, in Nepal. So one of my friend asked me, like, what do you do in bank? Like, what kind of technologies you use? Because in Nepal we use this. So tell me about more. So they want to, like update themselves with like the Western, the developed countries, their technology and the infrastructure. So they want to update themselves, and which is very good, because it's a learning process, and they're doing well. And that kind of question is very helpful for them in future as well.
In these 2 years, what changes have you found in your life?
I am much more stable, and I'm much more patient now. Mm-hmm. I used to be very impatient, and in terms of life, it's like I'm trying to learn something new every day. So back in Nepal, if I was working, I wouldn't have been doing anything in the weekend. So if I was working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, then Saturday, Sunday, I'd be drinking or I'll be sleeping, right? So there was only two options. But here, like during the holidays, Saturday, Sunday, I want to do something. I want to explore like Royal National Park. I want to go to Royal National Park and just, learn fishing or something. So like that's what is changing here, and then like that's how it has been changing my life here. So I want to learn more now, and I think people are moving too fast here, because you can see like when you travel on a train, and then early in the morning everybody's rushing to work, and then later at night you can see everybody tired. But then there are some people, if you notice, there are some people who want to do something else at night as well, so they're doing side hustling and stuff. So I think you have to learn from that, and in Australia I think that's what I've learned. And yeah,
now just tell me about your internship. So how was that?
All right. So I did my internship in the final semester, and it was a 12 credit point subject. It was a subject, but it was a course, but It was called business internships, and we had to choose a company. We can't choose a company. We had to choose a field, and then the university would find us a company, and we would accept or not. So we had to go to an interview, and then if they accept us, we have to accept them as well. So if both of the parties accept, we join them. So I joined Finisar Australia, which is an optical electronics manufacturing company. I worked as basically, I was working as an engineering management intern, but I was working in the logistics department. I don't know why. But internship experience would be, I think, very helpful, because that's where I began my career. And I never had a professional experience before, so in Australia. It was very helpful. I was networking with people. I was learning from them. It was not about my subject at all. It was nothing about engineering management. There was nothing about engineering management there. But what I learned was how to network with people, and why is it important. So there's this one guy who I'm still in touch with. I used to work with him in Finisar. So like, he teaches me a lot. He taught me a lot back then, and he still teaches me a lot. So like, I learned different values rather than learning something about my subject. So internship is not, I think it's not about learning a subject, because they're not going to teach you anything, and you don't have the experience to use all the like electronics components. But I think the best part that I learned was networking with people, and how to connect to people, and how to engage with them, and like that's how they're living, how's their lifestyle. Not only that, how the company works. Like, do you say, for example, in Nepal you say sir, madam, right? Here you don't say sir, madam. You call them by their name. You say Mr. Neeraj or Mr. Thapamagar. You say that, right? But back home you don't. Even if he or she is a 60-year-old guy or girl or a lady, sorry, you call them by their name. So those kind of small things make a difference. So internship was very helpful in that term, but in terms of studies, it was not much helpful. But I was not expecting anything, so it's better to go with no expectations and get something out of it, rather than having, okay, I'll do, I'm an engineering management manager, I'll manage the whole department. No, it's not going to happen. Engineering managers at least require 15 years of experiences to become a manager. So you can't just study masters and then expect to be an engineering manager. So I was not expecting anything. So that was the best part of internship.
The networking and, like you said, the connecting with people.
Yeah.
That is.
And not just that, organization values. So for example, that, like, the customers that the organization has and how they deal with the customer, even the simple email format. You learn that, hello Mr. This, thank you for your email, hope you are well, and kind regards. So those kind of small things matter in a long run. So that's what I learned there.
So this is the last question, and then after that we'll go for the rapid fire round. I have one more rapid fire round.
Yeah.
So now, what are you looking forward in Sydney?
So my next big thing would be to build my career in what I want to do. So I'm still in search of that. So I started during my undergrad year back home. I started as an electronics and communication engineer. But by the time I finished it, I was more into management and business and stuff, because I was organizing student events and activities. So I was more into business and management. And after coming here, studying engineering management, I felt like business is not my thing, but I think I should go more into management. So I think the best part, like the next big thing for me would be to explore as much as possible. I'm working in a bank. I'm an engineer. I'm working in a bank. I previously worked in an IT company. So I'm still exploring different fields. And when I get that perfect field that matches my passion, I think I'll go with that. So that's what I'm searching now, and that's what I'm planning to explore.
So now let's start rapid fire round.
Sure.
So I have 5 questions here, and you can give the one word answer or a one sentence answer, whatever easy for you.
Yeah.
So the first question: what was the last thing you were worried about in your life?
What was the last thing? So
you were worried about in your life?
The recent one.
The recent one, yeah.
So the recent one would be how to get a permanent residency.
Yeah, I think most of the international students worry about.
Yeah, it's like if you want to stay here and then you don't want to go in student visa, right? So at least find something that can make you permanent, and then you can decide what you want to do with your life. So I think permanent residency would be in most of the people's mind. So after you complete, so I think that is what I'm thinking right now. So yeah.
So the second question: one thing you don't like about Sydney?
I don't like about Sydney. That's a tough question. So the one thing I don't like about Sydney would be bushfire. No, I think they should give more chances to people with related skills, rather than having a common ground where everybody compete with each other. So if there's one student who is exceptional, and then he goes through the same process of, if he wants to stay here, he goes through the same process of being permanent resident, or he goes through the same process of being a citizen, or something like that. I think that exceptional student, they have some some policies and schemes to recruit those exceptional students, but I think they need to more focus on, some people are really talented some people are vloggers and they make good videos, but there's no such thing that if they want to stay here and then they want to do, they want to make video logs, they don't have any option. They have to go to engineering and IT or accountancy. That's not fair for everyone. So there's so many talented people. So if they want to hire talented people, they want to keep talented people, I think that's what not Sydney, Australia is lacking. So I think that's what Australia is lacking. Yep. And Sydney, Sydney is lacking good momo place as well. Like, I've had pretty good momos, but still not enough.
you want to test from
the best momos. Yeah.
So, and the third question, the last time you had a conversation with your family, and what was that about?
Last time I had a kind of conversation with my family was yesterday. I had a conversation with my mom about how she traveled to Pokhara. So she told me about how Pokhara was. We are original from Pokhara. So she told me, okay, there's buildings everywhere. There used to be flat lands, and we used to play in the ground. So she was telling me about how there are so many buildings and everything. Yeah.
Like crowded,
it's very crowded these days.
The fourth question: tell me one thing that you wish you would have known before coming to Sydney.
The process of focusing on your career, or the process of building your career. Nobody tells you, like the consultants back home, they don't know anything. I think they don't know nothing. They don't even read. They don't read anything, and we don't research. That's our bad part as well. We don't research. So I think if the process was more clear, I think students would be, if they want to go or not, rather than we'll go to Australia and earn some big money. So it's not like that. So if they knew what's going to happen, I think this podcast would be one of the storytelling way of telling them that this process is not that easy. So I think this is very helpful and efficient as well.
And the last question, one reason that makes you feel happy living in Sydney?
One reason, I think, one reason that makes you feel happy would be living with my partner. So, yeah, if she's happy, I'm happy. Well, so not only that, my career as well. So, one reason to be happy is that I've at least started my career, with a beat in different field. But yeah, I think one reason is my partner, and then second reason is my career.
Oh, thank you, Raunak. Thank you, Raunak, for being in my show and sharing your experience with me.
Thank you, Neeraj, for having me in the show. It was an honor to be in the show, and I was very excited and looking forward to it. And I hope this show gets more audiences as well, because people need to understand what's the risks and what they have to do when they are here, and what they have to prepare for. And you know how people think that it's easy here, and some people think it's super hard, some people think it's super easy. It's not like that. It's all about what you think and how you, if you know the process or not. So it's like everything is online available, and you can check out everything online. So like you don't have to go to a consultancy and just get information from an agent. I think the main part is the agent needs to have a lot of information on what they're going to do after. So I've heard like most of my friends who joined me in University of Wollongong, they didn't know Wollongong was far from Sydney, and it was like 2 hours train ride from Sydney. So there are cases where people don't know where they're going, but I think that's what they need to know, and they need to research a bit, and they need to have the mindset and prepare for what they're going to get here, because you're not going to. Some people end up with a job 1 week. When they arrive after 1 week, but some people they get after 5 months, like me. So yeah,
we have to be prepared. I mean, like
yeah.
So thank you, Raunak, for your time here, and thank you everyone for listening to our podcast till the end. See you next week with my another episode. Till then, have a happy and healthy life. Keep learning and keep sharing. Thank you.